Welcome to another edition of the Maryborough Castlemaine District Football Netball League A-Grade Netball Show. I'm Grace Bibby, joined by Chris Yeendy. How are you, mate?
Very well. Excited after a great round of netball and starting to see the competition really start to evolve, and can't wait to see how the rest of the season unfolds.
Yeah, it was a big round 8. There was a couple of interesting wins and some wins that maybe we predicted, but not by as big as the margin that finished.
Absolutely, and we're starting to see the top 8 really start to take shape, and we've got a couple of stand-up teams at the top, and the rest of them are starting to fight their way down the bottom, and in turn sort of put on some really good games. We're starting to see some disappointing performances from sides that started the season well but have started to drop off the pace a little bit. So that gap between 8th and probably your sides in maybe 10th and 11th is really starting to open up a little bit now.
Yeah, it's good, and obviously once you get to that halfway point of the season, you do have expectations, and ours are sometimes met and sometimes not. So that's a really good thing moving forward, that it's a very open competition.
Absolutely, it's exactly what we want, where pretty much anyone can beat anyone on any given day across most of our games. And
Harcourt are one of those teams that are currently in the top sort of section. They had a big win over Maldon on the weekend.
Yeah, fantastic performance there by the Lions. They are roaring along nicely. Maldon, I do sound like a broken record, but started strongly with a bit of potential early on, but then have dropped away. So they needed to win this one to sort of keep their slim finals hopes alive. Unfortunately, it looks like that's they'll be thinking about 2019 now and what they can do to sort of bounce back from that and continue on that momentum. While Harcourt, they are doing all the right things at the moment, and they've got some great talent in that team that continue to perform well.
And Maryborough Rovers, they obviously had a win, but it was only by the barest of margins. They defeated Netball.
Yeah, I'm almost a little bit surprised about this result, because the Rovers had a disappointing second half against Denali the previous week, and were able to have a draw, while the Swans had the biggest win of the season when they took down, I think it was at Denali or Campbell's Creek, by 80 goals, and had the biggest win of the season. So for the Rovers to bounce back like they have there, I think it's fantastic. And the Swans, they'll be disappointed. They are in the bottom half of the top 8 here, and they were facing a top 4 aspirant there in the Rovers. So the Rovers, they got the win, and the Swans, I think they'll be disappointed, because that was a golden opportunity to consolidate from the week before.
Yes, and we know that opportunities like that are hard to come by, so not good signs for Netball. Lexton, on the other hand, huge winners over Navarre.
Yeah, their last sort of 5-6 weeks has been quite remarkable. They were sort of languishing in the bottom half of the ladder not too long ago, and the win over Royal Park really catapulted their season. And now they're right in the mix of playing finals. And we look at Navarre, the Jess Parry factor, which we've spoken about probably the last sort of 5-6 weeks. It almost goes out the window now, because she did play on the weekend, and for the first time where she played, they didn't end up winning.
Yeah, it certainly does go out the window yet again. People proving us wrong. They love doing it, don't they?
They certainly do. And I reckon hopefully Jess is getting fined for all the plugs that she's getting here. But they've got a lot of talent there, Navarre, but by having someone like Jess Parry in that team really shapes up their lineup really well. It just gives them that really big X factor. And Lexton on the day, they certainly showed that. They got away to a 10-goal lead, and when you're chasing a quarter time by that margin, it's very hard to come back from.
Yeah, it certainly is. And speaking of talent, Carisbrook have got loads of it, and they were easy winners over Royal Park.
They've got the best percentage in I think one of the best percentages in the competition there, the Redbacks, and they showed some great performance on the weekend and taking down Royal Park that sort of languished in the bottom half of the ladder. The Redbacks, they're just doing the right things. They're playing some quality netball, and they're getting some really big leads on the board. They're constantly hitting the scoreboard, and I think they should be really rapt with that effort.
And two teams sort of, as we say, languishing in the bottom half of the draw, come up against each other. It was a competitive match, and Talbot took the points over Campbell's Creek.
Definitely worth watching for those who are able to get down there on the day and see these two teams battle it out, 13th and 14th on the ladder. And Campbell's Creek have enjoyed a win over Royal Park this year. Talbot, they needed, well, I think they might be 12th on the ladder, Talbot, but for them to sort of get that win there is fantastic. Really good game, but it was that second term that broke the game wide open. They scored 19 goals to 11, opened up a 9-goal lead, and that was essentially the margin. Other than that, it was a pretty even contest.
Yeah, and Denali, obviously a big upset win over Avoca.
Yeah, exactly. Denali really capitalising on that form that they had against the Rovers in that second half the previous week, whereas Avoca, they've been in some really good form in recent weeks. That win over Newstead was rubber stamp with brilliance all over it there. Maddie Egan was outstanding there with 34 of the 40 goals. Probably needed a bit of support there, whereas Denali, they really continued on that great pressure. Great work through the mid-court from some of their big guns, and they were able to hold the lead at every change. Again, that third term, sensational. the 19 goals in that third term really set up the win for them.
Premiership quarter, third quarter, Yeendy.
Absolutely.
And Trentham, we keep talking about them. They haven't done anything wrong yet. Another big win.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's their biggest win of the season as well. And if their high score, if not one of their highest scores, to win by 50 goals is great. But you look at the big positive in their forward line, the forward court. We had Hayley Burke and Shana Ford scoring 61 goals between them. The two 16-year-olds. There's your future of the competition right there. When we talk about in other competitions about the future with some great goalers, well, we've got it here at Trentham, and they're still the benchmark of the competition, and they've got arguably the youngest lineup in the comp as well, which is great.
Yeah, it's really good to see those young girls reaching some potential early, and obviously doing it in an A-grade competition is very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the premiership favourites too, Trentham, it's exciting times ahead.
Interesting to see if they can handle the pressure.
Absolutely.
So we'll move on to our round 10 games. We've got Campbell's Creek v Carisbrook. What are your thoughts?
It'd be Carisbrook by a pretty solid margin. But I think Campbell's Creek, their form in the last month hasn't been too bad either. I think for a team that hasn't got the results on the board that it would have liked this year, they've been performing quite well, and they haven't been blown out off the park. So they've got a lot of talent in there that's been able to run with some of these bigger sides. And Carisbrook, they've probably been the best side in the competition in terms of since they lost to Trentham not that long ago. They've really taken the sword to a lot of teams, and I think if Campbell's Creek can maybe get within 40 goals, I think they'd be happy.
And two teams that sort of looking to secure their top spot in the top four, Harcourt and Avoca.
Avoca need this win. That loss to Denali certainly really hurt them because they have been in some good form. Harcourt, they are playing some incredible netball. They've got top four aspirations. They definitely should be up there in that department there. I think Harcourt at home, they're too hard to go past there. And
Navarre will have another crack at making their way inside the top 8 when they take on Maryborough Rovers.
Navarre need to win this game. There's nothing more to it. If they can any player, if they can get their best team on the court, they need to go out there and win. The Rovers have been outstanding. They've been getting their 4 points, but I don't think they've done it with a lot of conviction of, say, your Natty Bialbas, your Carisbrooks, your Trenthams, a few Harcourts, a few of those teams. But they've still been getting the wins on the board. They've still been playing good, consistent netball, and if they can rise to the occasion come finals, that's great. They are the reigning grand finalists, and but Navarre need to win this. I would think that I think because they need to, I think they'll win.
You think Navarre?
Just.
And Natty Bialba, another team that need to sort of secure their spot and get a win on the board. They take on Denali.
Yeah, definitely right there. Yeah, this is going to be another great contest. Denali getting in some really good form at the moment. Both these sides will sort of be middle of the road in the top 8, and I think I think Denali will probably be a bit too strong in this one.
Can Royal Park find a win against Newstead?
Not this week. Not this week, unfortunately.
What about Talbot? Are they any chance of beating our current favourites for the premiership in Trentham?
They are a big chance to be competitive, and I would say probably get within the 30-40 goal mark. And the other game there, which I think will be very interesting, is Lexton and Malden. I'm hoping, I say this every single week, I hope the Bombers can finally get back some of that glory that they had earlier on in the year, especially against the Lexton side that is just getting better with every week. I can't see that happening.
So Lexton for you?
Lexton, all the way.
Lexton for me too, I think. Well, thanks for joining us, Yeendy. It's been another great edition of the MCDFNL Netball A-Grade show, and we'll be back next week.
No worries, look forward to it.
It's that chair that I can see that's annoying me. Do you want to do it? It's the old mirror runner. I'd love that.